Good evening. Happy Ivan Demidov Day for the rest of my life. April 14th. That's what it's going to be. Welcome to Scouching Live. I am extremely happy to be joined by I guess you could call him a friend and colleague and pal over at Puck Preps, a guy who I'm pretty sure we were switched at birth or something happened when we were born, even though I'm older than him. Jordan Malette, Puck Preps OHL superstar after the OHL draft. We're here to recap the draft. Jordan, how are you? How you feeling now that the now that Christmas time is over? You're at your Boxing Week special. What's going on?
It's wild,
Yeah,
getting to the finish line after, a year's worth of work, and it's all over. It all comes crumbling down, and your brain is, going in whirls trying to make sense of it all, but we're good.
right. Well,
Starting to put the pieces together, but we're getting there.
yeah. I mean, you mentioned a few times in your whatever you might call the mental state you were in the last few days, the complete confusion and craziness surrounding this year's OHL draft relative to your expectations. Um, Maybe before we get into the draft itself, let's take a stroll. Let's walk through what your day to day as an OHL draft guy looks like the workload. Where are you going? Like what's the job description for a person like you, and what are you looking for that might be a little bit different to people as opposed to like an NHL draft person like myself? Like what's the job?
Yeah, I mean, I think the big difference from the NHL draft is just the raw number of teams, for the OHL draft you need to watch. Like, there's 55 U16 AAA teams that are all eligible for the draft. And, in this line of work, there isn't really a consensus out there. There's no like central scouting, there's no Bob McKenzie. There's a few other like scouting agencies that put out lists, but really you're kind of on your own, like to really turn every rock over, watch every team, give every kid a chance, and build out your list. So, really, however you want to slice it, you just got to watch all the 55 teams as many times as you want. Of course, there's a filtering process of, okay, I've watched this team enough. I can, put them on the back burner for a few months. But at the end of the day, it's really just working your way through those 55 teams, and then prioritize things from the finish line. So a lot of the big tournaments are the big ones, like like the Toronto Titans tournament opens things up. The Whippy Silver Stick is a big one. The Marlboroughs tournament at the halfway point, and then the OHL Cup is the final one before the draft, and then doing some in-stat shift by shift stuff that you're familiar with on kind of the top guys. But really it is heavy on watching like full games, trying to find players that fit what I'm looking for, and build a list that way. So definitely is more of a, you're really trying to just find players, because there's
Mhm.
like 1,000 players that are U16 AAA in Ontario, and you just got to work through them all and filter it down into some sort of list, right? So it's a lot more of a grind, I think, that way, because there is
Yeah.
no like consensus to go, okay, Central Scouting has this guy as an A, they have this guy as a B, let's watch them. Okay, are they crazy? Are they not? Like, you're really just figuring that out all on your own, which makes things both fun and isolating, and like you're kind of on an island with things. But it is a challenging puzzle that
Right.
you just got to work your way through.
So you mentioned it very quickly, but what is it for you as an evaluator, especially at this age group? Like, what is it that you're looking for? Like, specifically, like when you go to a tournament, when you're crafting your list, especially without this sort of, I guess you could call it guidance from the powers that be out there. What is it for you, Jordan Millette? What are you looking for when you sit down and you're watching a team or a player?
It's definitely changed a bit over the years. So this is my third season doing it. Learning to be a bit more um, optimistic on players with physical tools and reach, and those defensemen that you can just stick in the lineup. But in general, really just like the smart players that can play at pace. So any similar things that you would say for the NHL draft, where it's like you can handle pressure well, play under pressure well, make plays with the puck on your stick, and really just prioritize possession, link plays together, and play that smart side of hockey, where you're just not just dumping in at the face of pressure, or throwing pucks on net from silly locations. But it really is a mix, because in the NHL draft, you're thinking 5+ years down the road, right? And
Hmm.
the OHL draft, the timeline's just a lot shorter, right? Like, these players, some of them are going to play next year, and you really need them to start cracking the lineup in a year or two, right? So the runway is a lot shorter, where it's like, even if you think a player has a ton of potential, you only have like 3-4 years to get there, right? And if you don't hit it in that timeline, well, you kind of wasted a draft pick, right? So I think it took me a while to fully develop the philosophy of being a little bit more bullish on the certainty of the physical tools, but still, I'm always drawn to those kind of crafty playmakers as well. So it's a lot more of a balancing act, I think, because you have to build a roster, and 2 years down the line, you're looking for these players to crack the lineup and contribute.
Yeah. So it is a lot more immediate, that's for sure. Like when you're going from AAA, where you said there's 1,000 players, a gajillion teams, you have guys also coming into the OHL from around the world and the United States and all that stuff. What do you think is that hurdle for these AAA players that, obviously they do have this sort of 4-year, 5-year period where they're going to be in the OHL? What's that transition period in your view, especially now that you've been doing this a few years? You've seen those guys from those early years now become, I would assume, like draft eligibles for this year or last year. What do you think is that sort of that roadblock that they can get over, or what do you think they need to, what is it that they need to bring that gives them that immediate success or the potential for that success in the OHL?
Yeah, I mean, I think the jump is massive, from Ontario U16 to the OHL. Like, you're going for, if you're a first round OHL pick, you've been the best player that steps on the ice, since you were 9 years old, right, or something silly like that, right? And all of a sudden, you're being challenged. You're not able to just skate by guys. You're not able to just get to the net every time you step on the ice. And I think a lot of that comes down to just players being more physically developed than you. You no longer are the fastest guy on the ice. You no longer are the strongest guy on the ice, and you have to find ways to create, being a little bit more of at a disadvantaged position, right? So it is a big jump from U16 to the OHL, and you look at someone like Owen Griffin is a good example of this, who is kind of hitting his stride now. Was like a 7th overall pick or 6th overall pick. Definitely was on the smaller side, a little bit frail. I think he was drafted like 140, 150 pounds or something. But now he's hitting his stride like 2 years in the league. So it definitely takes time for those kind of undersized guys to hit the ground running. I think, again, it just comes down to now you're playing against guys, that have 50, 50 pounds on you and stuff, right?
Yeah.
And you're used to being able to just, no matter what somebody did to try to close you down at U16, Owen Griffin could just weasel his way out of everything, right? So you got to really find how to like use your tools now when you have less time, less space, and guys are just on you, applying pressure way more often, way more like physical.
Yeah, I mean that totally makes sense. It is always very interesting now. I mean, now that I've been with Puck Preps for about a year and a half now, it is very interesting to see, from my perspective. I mean, I don't watch a ton of that age group, but it is very interesting to see a few of these guys now enter sort of that NHL draft eligibility that you have been a little bit familiar with from a couple of years ago. Um, that was a year that you were working on puck. The '07s were your first
Yep.
year, was it?
Yep.
Yeah. So maybe like maybe you could give us a little bit before we get to the OHL draft specifically. Like people are probably more maybe more interested in the sort of NHL aspect of this. So when you look at the '07s for this year, that you watched when you were, just a baby at doing this, who is there anyone that sort of sticks out? Is there anyone that you kind of have really been curious about, or have been liked their development since then, or maybe have been expecting a little bit more out of? I know you just mentioned Owen Griffin as a guy that's kind of come a ways, but is there anyone else that comes to mind that you might want to throw out there that people might want to keep an eye on?
Um, I mean, for me, like, two players that have developed into the players I thought they could become are Jacob Cloutier and Harry Nancy. Those are the two that come to mind immediately. If we talk about guys that have exceeded my expectations, like Jake O'Brien, like I never thought this would be Jake O'Brien. Like he has exceeded all of my expectations. You know, in his U16 year, he was playing on the same line, playing wing with Luca Romano, and I just
Oh,
felt Luca Romano was always the guy driving that bus, and Jake was kind of the complimentary, smart winger who was, linking plays together and just being that really smart support winger. And it's like, okay, I could see you doing that at the OHL level, but to think he would be, a top end, like first line playmaking center scoring 100 points or something
yeah.
this year, that's one where obviously some teams were discounting that as well. He went 9th overall in the draft, right? So he's one that's really exceeded my expectations. Cameron Reed as well. Like
Mm.
Cameron Reed, I kind of nabbed as someone who was like there was offensive potential, there was a safe floor of like he can skate and he can move the puck well, but to think the offensive potential would come this soon and like become kind of a dominant offensive defenseman in the OHL was something I wouldn't have thought 2 years ago. So he's somebody that is probably exceeding my expectations. Um, Jack Nesbitt's skating's come a long way since 2 years ago. You even talk about, I think Tony's mentioned this from watching Windsor games. It's like even from last year, things have like really improved. Like 2 years ago, the big thing was his skating, and that's come a long ways to make him now a relevant NHL draft prospect. So like, there's a ton where it's like you can see the tools, but in 2 years, like things can change, and they can just become better versions of themselves. And now you're more optimistic about them. But I can keep going down my list. If there's anyone
Mhm.
in particular you want to know about, but those are the ones that come to mind.
Right. Well, yeah, so I think on that note we can sort of jump right into the OHL draft, which is sort of fresh in your mind, I would say, maybe too fresh. Um so starting things off, I mean, I don't know how you really want to tackle this, but we can start right off the top here with Caden McGregor going to Peterborough. Now, this is one of the AAA guys that I haven't seen this season. What is Peterborough getting in a Caden McGregor? Why do you think he might have been a first like why do you think this guy might have gone first overall, and where do you think he goes with this game from here?
So, like, just a bit of a context on the story. He was hospitalized at the start of the year with meningitis, I think. So
Oh,
he missed like the first big tournament of the year. Was out like all of October. Came back in November for a big tournament and was not good at all. And then kind of took a while to get back up to speed. And then like January, February was like outstanding. But because he missed all those big tournaments and he was from Ottawa, nobody had really seen him. Like unless you were an Ottawa area scout or a GM or a director of scouting who made the trip to Ottawa, nobody had really seen him at full speed. And so he came into the OHL Cup and he blew everybody's socks off and he jumped up to the consensus first overall guy. For me, it was a bit of a brain blast where it's like being in Ottawa, like watching him in January, February really closely. Um, Everyone now being like, yeah, he's the number one guy, sent me for a bit of a brain spin. But he's someone that I think, has all the like run and gun offensive, can shoot from the perimeter, can score on the power play, all that stuff. But to me, it's like he kind of dominates like down low behind the net on the cycle, can kind of like use his reach to push pucks around defenders and create from kind of these down low and outside positions, even when he's like faced with defenders all over him. So when you talk about a guy like that who can, yes, he can score on the rush, yes, he can score on the power play, but it's like when plays like set up on the offensive zone and he can kind of weasel his way out of checks and kind of fend off pressure and create something out of nothing from behind the net. That's when it's like, okay, that's something that should translate well to the junior level where if he can play under pressure well in tight quarters, that's where something it's like, yeah, that should be a really good asset for the Peterborough Petes, especially on a team that likes a little bit more snarl and tenacity, and that's kind of what he brings.
right. So, yeah, you mentioned that. So, for anyone who's unaware, Jordan is an Ottawa-based person. So, how I am always curious about this, and I asked our Puck Preps colleague Joel Henderson about this a while ago. But how does something like the HEO, which is sort of that Ottawa area league, compare to something like the GTHL? Like that's always been the thing with these junior age drafts that I always have a bit of trouble sort of squaring the circle of, because there's so many players out there, and the common conception is probably that the GTHL is the place to be. But compared to that, like you have a first overall pick coming from the Ottawa area from the HEO. From my understanding, is that unconventional? And how do those sort of leagues square up in your mind based on what you've seen?
Yeah, I think that's the first overall pick out of Ottawa in like 50 years or something. Like
Okay,
it's
yeah, I thought so.
um but I guess I should say like for 40 of those years, maybe 35, like Ottawa didn't have AAA. It was like double A and it was always kind of the at the kids table. But anyways, in terms of like quality of leagues, GTHL is obviously the top dog. Yes, there's quality players in Toronto, but you also get like if you live in Whitby or Ajax or Hamilton or whatever, like you're a top player, like chances are you've made the move into the GTHL, right? So those outer parts of the GTHL, there is a bit of that brain drain into the GTHL to make it even stronger. On the outskirts of Toronto, which is the OMHA leagues, so the OMHA East is like Kingston to Barrie area. There's usually like one or two powerhouse teams on that circuit, one or two powerhouse teams on the west side, um, and then the Alliance is Southern Ontario, which again it has like 11 teams, and usually there's two that are strong. The bottom end is kind of weak. Ottawa, I would say, the story on most of the leagues is like most leagues have like really top heavy. Ottawa is
Mm.
really a strong average. Like the five teams in Ottawa, you'll usually see five of them in like the top 25 in the province. You may not have a top five team in Ottawa, but like all five teams will be semi-competitive, is what I would say. Whereas in outside Toronto and in the Alliance, you're gonna get like five bottom 10 teams, right? So I think it's a lot more close knit. You won't get the powerhouse teams, but on a game to game basis, it is a very competitive league.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that is a good thing to know because I've always been curious, and I mean, being a guy in Toronto, you kind of get fed the GTHL thing. Like that's been the way it
It
is since
is.
I was a kid. Right. Yeah. I mean, but like even in the GTHL, like you said, they're kind of top heavy.
Yes.
And I
Yeah.
know that a
So
team like I think it was Don Mills this year that won pretty much every single game they played. So uh, how do you navigate that where you have certain teams that in the GTHL especially and in the alliance like you said they might have this level of dominance and the entire team might get drafted in the OHL draft. Like is it just that you know the teams that you need to sort of avoid it and just sort of focus on these top end programs when they play each other, or is it just sort of like a passive I have to keep this all in mind and keep myself in check kind of thing, as like a self-discipline thing?
no, it's definitely like I want to see players in like a similar playing field, right? Like watching the worst team in Ontario against the best team in Ontario, it's not a fair evaluation for either kid, right? So if I'm watching, let's say, Kingston wasn't very strong this year, I'll try to watch them against like Markham or something that also wasn't very strong, right? And same in the GTHL, like I'll watch Don Mills against the Marlboros, the Junior Canadians, and then the Toronto Nationals or the Mississauga Senators who are on the lower end. Like I'll watch them play against each other just to especially on those lower end teams, like they're never going to stand out against the Don Mill Flyers, like no matter how good a player is. Like if you're
Right.
against a team with five future OHLers, like you're in tough, right? So watching them against a lower end program, if a player stands out, maybe I'll watch them against a little bit better team or watch them individually to kind of get a better gauge on things. But yeah, it is trying to see, you know and especially for, you kind of mentioned it for the alliance teams, like Sun County this year was a really strong team. So when it comes to tournament play, I'm trying to watch them against, top of the GTHL teams, just to kind of keep this best on best theme going as much as I can.
Yeah. Well, we can move down the draft board a little bit here. So second overall belonged to the Guelph Storm, and I am going to defer the pronunciation of this name over to you because I've only seen his brother play for the Ice Dogs a couple of times, so I've never had to pronounce their name. But uh, who is it, and what? Who is it, and what does he do?
It's Jacko Wysick.
Okay.
I'm not even 100% confident on Wysick. I was saying Wysick for the longest time, but I'm pretty sure it is Wysick.
All right.
Um, he is a really interesting one to watch. Like he's like 6'1" maybe, and kind of just skates around like he's in slow motion, but like he's gaining momentum and getting by guys and has like insane hands for like a 6'1" guy while moving around the ice. I kind of say he similar like mechanically to a Ryan Rubrick, where it's like a bigger guy, and like there's sometimes when like the hands just are just insane, right? Of course, with Jacko, you're bringing a little bit more 200-foot game and playmaking than you're getting with Ryan Rubrick, but like similar mechanics where it's just like the package of physical tools and the way they move around the ice is pretty exciting, right? So when you put that body in like the mold of a two-way centerman who can make plays and can dodge pressure and do all those fun things, it's easy to get excited about that. And that's what the Wolf Storm are getting with Jacko.
Right. Well, that's your so just for the record as well, this is Jordan's Caden McGregor is your number two, according to Puck Preps. Get yourself a Puck Prep subscription and you can keep up with all of Jordan's all of his writing and whatever you want to call it going on throughout the season. But McGregor was your number two, Wissick was your number three. Cameron Warren was your number one player this year, and Cameron Warren ended up going to North Bay at 6. Now, Cameron Warren is one that I have seen a little bit over the course of this season, and I like him. So, what to me, he's the best player that ever walked the earth. So, what is it about Cam Warren that put him at number one for you, and what do you think it might have been that put him at number 6 to go all the way to North Bay?
So to me, he's just someone that, like, if I was creating a player from scratch, he had a lot of the qualities I'm looking for. Just that, like, nonstop, rambunctious, go, 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 always just motoring, all the technical skills, like very tactical passing, can pick apart defense, and just is really elevating everybody he plays with, drives play for the top line on the Junior Canadians team. And really just so much of their offense came from him, you know, buzzing through the neutral zone, entering the zone, either, you know, dishing to one of his talented wingers or making a quick move to the middle and scoring, right? He's someone that can really push defenders on their heels, push them back, and then attack the middle of the ice. And even though he's 5'9", like, he's always battling, he's feisty, he's winning pucks. So for me, and like, you know, that's kind of like pretty much it, right? Like, drive play, you can play make, you have an elite playmaking, you can push the pace. Like, yes, it would be nice if he was an inch or two taller, but, you know, at the end of the day, I don't really care because he's, you know, doing everything else. As for why he went 6, you know, I don't have all the details. I don't have all the behind the scenes stuff. It sounds like there was some rumblings about, you know, him maybe saying, I'm going to the NCAA in 2 years. So, you know, if you could get a player for 4 years versus a guy for maybe 2, maybe that spooks some teams. But again, I don't have all the answers to that stuff. So that's pure speculation. But yeah, so we'll see what happens and how long North Bay gets him for. But if you can get him for 3-4 years, it might be a home run for North Bay, who has a pretty good pool of 07s and 08s on their team. So that could be a fun young team to look out for because Cam Warren, he's a ton of fun.
Yeah, yeah, he is. I'll second that opinion. So the name that was on a lot of people's minds, I think, for a long time, another player who I've seen a little bit of going into the OHL draft was Charlie Murata, who I believe there were some outlets that you mentioned had him at number 1 on the list here going into the draft, or at least very close.
I think he was 1 going to the OHL Cup for a few, and then
Got it.
2, I think.
Dropped 2. Okay, so he went to 8. He went to 8 to Flint. On your list, he was sitting at 4. So before we get into maybe some sort of team-focused discussions, what is it with Charlie Murata? And I did read more than one person writing about his OHL Cup maybe being a bit of a something that fed into why he went a little bit later than where you had him ranked and some others. So what is it about Charlie Murata that puts him really high on your list? And again, with Cam Warren, why might he have been a guy that slipped a little bit in the draft?
Yeah, I mean, so for, I guess, full transparency, like 4 to 6 or 1 to 3 was a tier for me, and then 4 to 6 was a tier. So Murata at 4, like, I could have easily put him at 6. He's someone that just, like, a really polished, explosive skater. And you see kind of, I think he's 6'2" or something. You see him like fly up the ice, blaze by guys, gain the zone, control play on the perimeter, and just is like a really smart puck manager, can pick apart, like, find passing lanes across seams in the offensive zone. And really is just, I think, that play driving, playmaking winger that you can kind of put with anybody, and he kind of makes things tick. For me, it was, I don't want to say some doubts creeped in over the OHL Cup, but it kind of reinforced some concerns, and some other guys played a little bit better to move up my list. So I can see why he, you know, when push comes to shove on draft day, someone left, you know, a better taste in your mouth after at the finish line, right? It's okay, you know, we had all these guys pretty even going in. This guy played better, or we need a center, right? Because there is, you know, a bunch of the guys drafted ahead of him were center, but you know, he's someone that I think could be, you know, a first line winger in the OHL. He may not, you know, attack the net or drive, you know, toward the net enough, but a really smart puck manager and playmaker, and has all that, like, explosive, polished skating that, you know, should translate well to the OHL level.
Right. Yeah, I mean, that that sounds like about right. And yeah, I mean, does the OHL Cup, do you think, like, does it reasonably affect a player's rating, considering it's such a big tournament at the end of the year? It's a best on best tournament. Is that something that you factor in quite a bit more than what you may have going into the tournament, or is it just sort of something that you sort of sit back and just sort of let the chips fall where they may, and you don't let it really mix things up too much?
I try not to. Like, I try to, you know, I've watched these kids, like in Murata's case, I don't know, but like let me see. Let me see how many times I watched him. 36. I've watched him 36 times. So it's like if he had a handful of bad performances at the finish line, it's like, okay, I'll move him down a few spots, but I'm not going to tumble him a ton. But, for teams, right? Like you have all your scouts come together, all your area scouts come together who have been, saying my guy from my area is the best, my guy's
Mhm.
from my area is the best, and you all come together, watch them for one last time, see them in most cases. Like I think Murata played against some of these guys, like all these guys played against each other in the tournament, and it's like, okay, like you guys have all been saying, I want this guy, I want this guy. It's like this is the final evaluation point, right? So I can see how for teams, this is like the final point, right? Because all your scouts are coming, and it's like, okay, whose guy is going to play better?
Right. Okay, well, let's flip over to some teams, but maybe I mean I really want to pick your brain about this. So the unexpected thing, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, the unexpected thing about this year's draft was just an absolute torrent and flood of Americans. Uh, it was unexpected to you. It kind of screwed up a lot of your expectations going in, as far as I can tell. Is that just a matter of like the CHL NCAA rule changes? What I mean, I don't know if you've kind of worked your way through it, but what have you picked up the pieces and thought about this a little bit more, and why that might have happened and how things kind of shook out as they did?
Yeah, so I think there was like 78 Americans drafted, and for context, like the past 2 years was like 40, like a very big increase. And I would say, yeah, it's all to do with the NCAA changes, right? If you can get a high-end American to come, who's better than the 50th Ontario kid, right? That's a pretty big addition, right? So the thing that shocked me was how high they went. Like there was a run in like the second and third round of Americans, which like really pushed down some of the Ontario kids that I thought were really talented. So maybe these teams have, unofficial commitments from these players where they've already made agreements to come. But this is something that like I don't try to like play this game of like what Americans are trying to come, like
Mm,
who may get picked. Like I'll never win that game, right? Of trying to run around and guess all that. But we'll see what happens. Like there was '07 Americans taken, '08 Americans, so like D plus ones and twos. It kind of got a little bit silly.
right.
We'll see what happens. Like maybe the OHL shifts to what the WHL does, who has a standalone American draft in the future. But this might just be a 1 year quirk where floodgates were open because the NCAA rule changes and teams went crazy. So, I mean, at the end of the day, like if an Ontario kid went in the second round or the fourth round, like they're still the same player. They'll probably, hopefully, get the same opportunity. But yeah, it was just kind of the Wild West of how many Americans went, especially high.
Right. All right. Well, let's take a look at the draft as a whole. So when you look at the OHL teams and who went in and who they came out with, do you have any teams that you think stuck out, whether they drafted sort of the way that you would have really targeted guys, or just in general, you think they just landed a bunch of really good or interesting players that you're gonna have your eye on? Like people always want to know the winners and losers on day one. So tell me who the winners and losers were on day what is it, day 6, maybe day 5? You've had plenty of time, so
Yeah, so I haven't fully, usually I do this. I'll write like an article of saying like teams that aligned with me, not so much like who won the draft, but just who philosophically, we went in the same direction. I haven't quite put all the pieces together. There was a few teams that stood out on draft day. Like London was one, um, who usually aligns with me, who drafted their first two picks were very similar. Projections, but one's a forward, one's a defenseman. Just really raw, smart, all the tools. It's just a matter of like putting them together. So Alex Compo and Cooper McAslin are the two players that come to mind where it's like you can see what they could become. They're not there yet. And it's like if you're London never needs their guys at 16 or 17, stick
mhm.
them with, I don't know, St. Thomas or Strathroy or something in the Go JHL, let them hang out there for a year and a half and then at 18 they come up like, oh, who the heck is this guy? Like the Will Nichols, the Sean McGurns, like
Yeah.
all these guys, they just churn out these guys, right? So London took two guys that I think need time and will just fit in well with that London of let them fester, let them marinate, and they'll come up in a few years. And like going down their list, like London's actually one of the teams, surprisingly, that didn't go heavy on the Americans. So like I go up and down their list. Um, Alone Legalic is someone that I've just adored. Like really feisty puck manager, all the smarts. Every time he's on the ice, he's thinking about how to link plays with control, how to spot passing lanes, and just everything's about keeping the puck within his team's possessions and making things happen. So London's one that stands out. Brantford, I think, is another who in the first round took a defenseman that I wasn't really sure where people stood on him. As I kind of said at the beginning, like you're kind of on an island at times. Like there's people who put out rankings. At the end of the day, like you don't really know, I trust the other people putting out lists or whatnot. But David Buckman is someone who I've since the day one of the draft, like I've just adored this kid. I've thought I was taking crazy pills for putting him as high as like 12 on my list. Just like really smart defenseman who I think is like outstanding defensively despite not being physical. Like really just like smart stick positioning, shuts plays down, like applying pressure smartly with a stick, and then just turns plays around so quickly and hits stretch passes out the other direction. So like for me, he was my top ranked defenseman, and I could have easily like going into the draft, I was like, he's gonna be the 12th defenseman taken, but he was taken in the first round as like the third defenseman off the board. So and then Brantford has some more that aligned with me, and I'm sure every team has a bunch, but those are the two that really stood out. Um,
Sounds like
Sa-
Timothy Lilligren.
Oh my god. Yeah.
Saginaw sent me for a little bit of a whirl. I'll admit that. They're a team who 2 years in a row have always aligned with me, and this year they took someone in the first round where it was so out in left field for me that I was like, I missed something. Like I need to go watch this kid. Like Saginaw, like we're always kind of on the same page. So I haven't fully went back and watched them a ton, but that's one where I'm scratching my head a little bit of like I probably missed something because usually we're on the same wavelength here. So every team has a few that definitely align with me.
So you mentioned very briefly there the London Knights and sending guys to St. Thomas and Strathroy, and this is something that I am curious about. And I mean, again, my evidence and experience is really anecdotal, but it does feel like, especially London, kind of led the charge on utilizing those leagues as sort of a developmental spot for a lot of these guys. Do you think that's something that's spreading through the OHL and using these sort of other leagues as a developmental tool, or is that just something that London has the advantage of because there may be some connection between ownership of everything and they just sort of have that advantage? Or is this sort of like the direction the league is going, especially now with, there are so many picks in this draft and they might have so many, Americans now coming up from the States to play in this league instead of going to the USHL? Like, I know it's happened before with teams like St. Thomas and Strathroy, like you said, but is this something that is becoming more of a legitimate spot for guys to go?
Yeah, I think teams like OHL teams mostly have like unofficial affiliations with teams, like places they send guys. It's a little bit tougher for the Ottawas and the Kingstons and the Peterboroughs who don't have that Go JHL local to them. I know Ottawa sends guys like throughout the CCHL. I imagine Peterborough sends guys to like Lindsay or somewhere in the OJHL, right? I imagine it's going to trend that way. Like I think there's probably, I hope, like some reform coming in the Canadian junior sphere, like in the OJHL, CCHL, like with all the NCAA rule changes, like how that's all going to settle. Like maybe we get a more streamlined, like U18 OHL feeder sort of league. I'm not really sure where things go, but there is a lot of junior teams in Ontario, so you could hope for a more streamlined like OHL, not like direct affiliate, not like an AHL for the OHL,
Yeah.
but something more streamlined, right? Where it's like depending on the team right now, you might have different options. Like I think Guelph uses the Air Centennials. Brantford I think Brantford has a Go JHL team, but like most
Yes.
teams
Yeah.
have like some sort of affiliate. But depending on where you're located, you might have more options. So I think London may have like 2 or 3 Go JHL teams within their sphere, right? So maybe we can hope for something to change because yeah, there is a lot of junior teams in Ontario. That's something I can talk your ear off about. But junior hockey in Ontario is an interesting sphere.
Yes, it is. I mean, on that note, then I guess if you were king of the world, like you mentioned, some of the you mentioned you were like saying that streamlining things would be the way to go, but based on the work that you do and where you put yourself in terms of the rinks and places in Ontario, like how what, especially with this NCAA thing that's causing whatever you want to call it, turmoil, upheaval, whatever. If you were sort of running the show, where do you sort of try to push things and try to move things in the right direction? Because there has been a lot of talk about hockey development in Canada, and yeah, you're right, like hockey in Ontario is wild. So is there anything that you sort of would like to see, specifically that hasn't been enacted just yet?
I mean, a couple things come to mind. I think not so much like revolutionizing things, but like turning to how they do things out west or in out east. The one thing I say that blows people's brains usually is Ontario is the only place where U16 AAA is a thing. Like out west, out east, they all play U18 AAA. They don't play U16. There is no like if you're a 16-year-old, you're either in the WHL or you're playing U18. Like there's no like how many 2008s this year are in the SJHL or in the
Right.
Manitoba Junior Hockey League. That's just not a thing. And I think that's comes back to like prioritizing the U18 league, which I think here in Ontario we really don't do. We let the U18 hockey be kind of a honestly like you're almost shamed for like returning to U18 hockey.
Right.
Speaking as someone who played U18 AAA as a double A kid who finally got his chance to play AAA because all the good players left. U18 AAA hockey is not strong. So and you talk about like the TELUS Cup is coming up, I think next week or something. The Ontario teams will be in tough to win a game. So I think when you're I'm not people will hate me if I say get rid of U16 and go to a U18 model, but I think just looking what else is going on in Canada.
Mm,
16-year olds aren't going to play junior, play in the SJHL or play junior B in the what is it the KIJHL in Kootenay and Vancouver, whatever that is, or the
right.
right like
Yeah.
nope, like a real U16 player or U17 players aren't going there, right? So I think there's a lot of junior hockey teams, a lot of 16-year-olds playing junior in Ontario, and I think in some cases, yeah, go play in the OJHL, but there's probably too many 16-year-olds playing, and our U18 league could be strengthened a lot.
Hmm.
And that's going to be very unpopular opinion, but that's just me. Of you look at again like the U18 AAA or the U18 draft for the OHL, like rarely produces a player,
Right.
um, and it's kind of sometimes guys make it, but the quality of that draft is usually really weak. So that's where my mind go of keeping more of those OHL D+1 players in U18 hockey. But that's unpopular opinion, but that's the first thing where my mind goes.
That's what we do best here. That's the motto of the show. Come here for your unpopular opinions that make people
That we
upset.
actually believe in, however.
But we believe it. Yeah, we actually believe these things. Um so okay, so let's close out the OHL draft discussion here. Is there anybody that you are going, holy crap, I can't believe this guy went so late, or anyone where you're sort of sitting there and going, man, I just love this guy and I'm excited to see where he goes from here? Like the name that always comes to mind with you is you mentioned what's his name, Jimmy Sutherland, a while ago, and you're like, that he got signed by Guelph, he's played some games, he's just there and you're happy
Yeah.
about it. Is there anyone that sort of checks those boxes for you this year, whether it's someone you really do think is destined for really good things in the OHL and maybe beyond, or someone who, whatever happens, happens, but you're just happy that they're along for the ride for whatever happens?
Ooh, Jimmy Sutherland.
I
That's a
know.
throwback.
I had a
Yeah.
feeling that you would like that one maybe a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah, oh, I have one that comes right to mind. I just had to scroll down my list a little bit further. You actually brought his name up when I posted it. and thought it was funny. Brant Ruyekers,
Right, not a real name. Can't be a real name.
he was drafted in the 13th round, but after you take out, the 100 or whatever Americans, like he was probably like a 7th or 8th round pick. Um, Someone that I've watched that just like every time he touches the puck, just like very tactical, shields the puck well with his body, and just extends plays in the offensive zone, controls play on the cycle, and he's someone that like I was like, you could be like a depth OHLer on my team. So it's like, that's somebody I put at, 90 or something on my list, where it's like you could fill a job on a team if I was calling the shots. So I put him on my list, and we'll see what happens. Being a 13th round pick, chances are maybe not, but take out those Americans and it's maybe more of a conversation. We'll see how it goes. He's drafted by Peterborough. Let's see. Ones that weren't super late. Jax Pereira, maybe. He's someone that was drafted in North Bay. So he was a junior Canadian, was that number 2 center behind Cam Warren. So they're going to be teammates in North Bay. Another one who doesn't necessarily look like that polished or that aesthetically pleasing, but like when I'm writing notes, like everything is just like, yeah, that was smart, that was good. Like you're doing little things right, of just like you're touching the puck, you're driving play, you're making smart decisions, and you're really driving this second line for the junior Canadians. So someone that I thought would be a very good bet to be a strong OHL centerman. That's another one that comes to mind, but there's obviously a bunch. Some that went undrafted that I'm still rooting for. We'll see what happens to them, but those are always the ones that I saw something there, you didn't get picked. Like hope you do good things and prove them wrong. So
all right, one of them. Who's one that went completely undrafted in the OHL draft? 300 times people said no, and you go, they are wrong 300 times.
I mean, I wouldn't say they're wrong. I would say he was a guy that I identified as someone that could maybe possibly play in the OHL. Yeah, right. Like Nathan Miller, he plays for Grey Bruce. So a program that doesn't quite get the spotlight, being in the Owen Sound sort of area. To me, was just like a defenseman that could weave his way out of anything, turn out of pressure every time someone was on him, and then make just like a quick stretch pass up ice. Really good passer in the offensive zone. Yes, he's I think 5'11", maybe not the most physical, but like the feet, the brain, the passing. I was like, yeah, I want to bet on you. You may just be, an OJHL All-Star, but someone that I would want to bring into my organization, give a few years, and work with them, because maybe in 2 seasons he could be someone that steps in. But he unfortunately wasn't picked. We'll see what happens where he goes. But someone that I've watched him a bunch, and I was like, I'm not. It's always hard with these players on lower end programs to not get too excited. But I was like, I've seen you enough, and I really believe in you. Of course, clearly maybe I was wrong, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah. Well, never wrong. You're never wrong until it's all over. It's not a loss if you don't sell, right? Like that's the thing. I obviously people probably don't know, but you copied me and the idea. You have your Team Jordan guys. You're an Ottawa 67s area person. Not that you're partial to the Ottawa 67s, whether you are or not, it doesn't matter. But maybe so if you're unfamiliar, obviously I do team scouting. So with Toronto's picks in the NHL draft, I add guys to a list that I keep track of and see if they're any good or not in 5 years. And so you do the same with the Ottawa 67s. Obviously, we're not going to walk through all 15 of them. That would be insane, and we'd be here forever. But maybe the first couple, like Ottawa had 3, 32, and 48, and 53 in the top 60. So maybe who were some of those guys that if you were running an OHL team were the targets for you if you had access to those picks?
Yeah. So just quickly, who I already have, I guess maybe.
Sure. Go nuts.
Like the 07s, like Tanner Lamb, Jacob Cloutier, were my first 2 picks from the 67s, picked back to back when they took Nick Whitehead and Henry Brustevich, whatever that name is. Casey Bridgewater, depth defenseman. Ivan Galyanov, depth roster player. Noah Reed, like that was like a sixth, seventh round pick who
All right.
is doing a
He's
thing.
all right. Yeah.
Some 08s like Nathan Amidovsky, he's coming along. Nick Rossetto and Carter Hicks. So light on the back end, light down the middle, and was looking to change that this year. So at third overall, Cam Warren, we've talked about him. That would have been my guy.
Sick.
Yeah, of course. Like if I had the intel that maybe he was taken off in 2 years, maybe that changes thing. But whatever. Can't really win those things. So at 32, 6 sevens, and I actually took the same guy in Jack Johnson.
Another Jack Johnson.
A second Jack
Sick.
Johnson.
Another
He
one.
is a hoot to watch because it's kind of like that. The way you kind of talk about maybe not Owen Power, but like a defenseman where you can see all the tools, you can see everything, but sometimes he's just kind of a little bit clunky on his feet. A puck goes between his legs or under his stick, but it's like you can see the skating, you can see sometimes the smart passing, and it's just like, okay, you could be in 2 years like a really, really high end player. You're not there yet. You definitely need some time to come along, but it's like I think he's 6'4", maybe 6'5". And it's like if everything keeps going in the way they're trending, because like honestly, if you asked me a year ago if he would have been like in my first round, I would have said hell no. But like year over year, he has come so far, and it's like, yeah, I'll bet on you keep trending in that direction. So he was my pick in the mid-second round. Jeremy Freeman in the third round, a little bit on the smaller side. He's not that small, but was on that top Toronto Titans team. We haven't talked about them a ton, but they are one of the top teams in Ontario this year. And he was, when the puck got in the offensive zone, he was the one kind of controlling things on the wall and just creating everything as a passer from the outside, sort of not quite like a Luca Pinelli, but similar, where it's like when he gets the puck on the wall, he can escape pressure and just make a quick pass to the slot area. And it's like, yeah, I'll gladly take that in the third round. Going
Lots
deeper,
of points.
yeah, tons
Lots
of points.
Tons
Yeah.
of points.
Going deeper, added some like projectable defensemen that can see how in a couple of years they become stable. Number 4, number 5 defenseman. Nothing too exciting, but was just looking to shore up the defense, add some high end offense at the top, and see what happens. Because yeah, my defense was a little bit skim going into this draft, so we'll see how it goes. Added some bigger projectable defensemen. Nothing super exciting, but guys that should be able to play and defend adequately.
Right. Support those little guys that you've drafted over the years, all those short kids.
Yes, all my 5'9" wingers. I need some centermen and some defensemen.
An
I don't draft
army of
goalies.
speed. Right.
I should maybe draft a goalie. Or I guess I'll just live on the, I'll trade for one if I was actually calling the shots.
Yeah, you probably could get a goalie for Jacob Cloutier. That's pretty good, I guess. I don't know. Although you probably don't want to trade a Jacob Cloutier, considering he's a good time. That kid's a ripping good time. Well, thank you very much for that. That I don't know anything really about the OHL draft, and I love to pretend that I do sometimes. But I like to stay in my lane, stay in my wheelhouse, because frankly, I'm always blown away, because now that I see what goes on behind the scenes at Puck Preps, and I help out where I can with the younger age groups, it is such a huge world. And like, yes, the NHL draft is also big. There's a billion different countries, and they all have their own leagues, and there's men's leagues and amateurs and blah, blah, blah. But there is something about when you're talking about 15-year-olds and younger that is definitely quite intimidating. So it is deeply appreciated for what it's worth. And I mean, I don't know, like, I don't know if you have any thoughts to sort of close out the segment on this, on the OHL draft, where we haven't gone yet, because yeah, I mean, I see bits and pieces of it. It always blows my mind. It's such a big, crazy world at that level. That I honestly, I don't think it, I mean, on one hand, I don't think it gets enough attention, but on the other hand, I'm kind of glad that kids that young aren't getting like the same amounts of attention that 17-year-olds are, that are going to play in the NHL one day, maybe. So I don't know. I'll throw it back to you. Is there anything that's sort of in this draft, or what you do day to day, that you kind of wanted to put out there, or discuss, or something that we might not have covered?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of talked about at the beginning, but I think it's just like the amount of time and workload that goes into making a reasonable, even top 100. Like I remember when I put out so I do it kind of in increments of like release a top 20, then a top 50, then a top whatever. Like when I released my top 50 in December, I was cramming so hard to like the last thing I want to do is put a kid at like 47 who every month I'm releasing a list and he's just dropping and dropping and
Mm,
dropping, right? So it's like to make a top 50, you have to, say no to 950 kids, right? And make sure that player 47 is reasonable to be in this conversation when there's no real like when you go bowling and there's bumpers to keep you in check, like there's
yeah,
none of that here of like, if I put a kid 47 in December, like I want to be sure he's not going to go undrafted, right? So
right.
I think just the amount of time and effort to go through that and not even to claim that I'm right, just to be able to know what's like reasonable, right? Like to know if a player belongs in the second or third round range takes a lot of time. If someone has somebody 50 and I have them 60, like chances are we can come to an understanding on why we have those players there. But just the filtering is the main thing because there's so many kids, so many teams, and there's only so much time, right? So that's
Right.
why these OHL teams have 10 scouts going to tournaments and games and whatnot, right? Like for one person, it's a massive undertaking, and just try to do my best to work through it all and make somewhat of a good product for parents and players to have a good understanding of the class, right? So the last thing I want to do is like I put out a top 100 and 60 go undrafted, 50 go in the top
Mm,
in the 10th round, right? So put out a top 100 that doesn't align with the draft, but like at least gives you a good picture of what the class offers, right? So just a lot of time and effort that goes into that. So yeah, just don't underrate that how much time I'm grinding away here.
Jordan tries. Jordan
Yeah,
tries really, really hard.
I never claim to be right, but I'll say I'm always
Exactly.
watching.
It's a good way to put it.
Yeah.
Unless we're talking about the elephant in the room for this evening, which is Ivan Demidov. Then I think I can sit here and be like, I toe to so. Even though it's been 2 periods of one game, he's elite. We don't. That's all. That's it. He's just
Are
the
they
greatest
winning?
player to ever
Did
live.
they win?
Yeah. No, it's second intermission right now.
If
Um,
Chicago wins, Liv Schnell's better.
exactly. Yeah, you got it. Yeah, wins matter. Well, okay. Thank you very much again. You are more than welcome to stick around for the Q&A. We can take a look through
There is
some of
one
these.
question for you, at least.
There is one.
And it
At
happens to
least
come
one.
from
Wonderful.
Dylan Galloway.
Nice.
Oh no. Oh
Towards
boy.
the end
Okay, so
here.
yeah, I see it. So so Dylan asks, does Jordan's list have a height limit? Such a hater for anyone over 6 feet. Excuse me. This what's this guy you picked, the 32nd overall guy, Jack
Jack
Johnson?
Johnson.
He's big. He's
Yeah.
a big boy.
I don't
You
So
think
talking
there
about
was.
NHL Jack Johnson? Because that guy's a big boy. But
no, OHL Jack
yeah.
Johnson. Now,
I
Ottawa
So
67's
how big
legend.
how big is this Jack Johnson?
6'2", I
uh,
think. That's what he's listed at.
Oh,
I
okay,
looked it up on
okay.
I
EP.
thought he was a little bit bigger, but anyways.
Okay. Well, either way,
I
that's a big boy.
I tried to be better this year, Dylan. I wasn't. I didn't put Alex Sementsov at 9, the 5 foot. What is he? 5'8" Russian winger. I
Right.
was reasonable with him. I was I was good this year. I tried to be sensible with the small with the with the small guys. So I didn't get carried away. You need to check yourself. I guess Cannon Thibodeau is small. I know you've given me crap for him, but that's another thing.
Hey, Alexander Sementsov, first round pick to the Barrie Colts. So
A billion points.
yeah, and a billion points. So,
He's
not
good.
for nothing.
He's got to be
Yeah,
good.
that means he's good, especially in the OMHA, like you can't ignore that.
The reason why we know Ivan Demidov is good is because he's got 2 points tonight. If he had 0 points,
exactly.
he'd be bad. He'd be Ivan Demidov.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, he's on pace to like shatter Wayne Gretzky's records,
Exactly.
Like
So
he's gonna
the
do
GOAT
it.
now. Well,
Yeah,
watch
he's the
out for a
GOAT.
future video where
Yeah, that's Thursday's show.
yeah, Thursday's show is
Ivan Demidov, the greatest
Ivan
to ever play.
Demigod, the GOAT.
Yeah. Yeah. Even if he gets 0 points for the rest of the season, it still counts.
Still counts for that video, and then the next one will be, does Ivan Demidov suck now?
Yes. We did actually get a couple of questions focused on this specific discussion. So someone asked about Keaton Ardaugh, who had a ton of goals this year in the GTHL, pretty good size, 6 feet, arguably some of the best goal scoring in the draft. So why didn't he go particularly high, top 10, top 5-ish? And where did you have him on your list here?
Around where he went, like 16 or something.
17.
Yeah.
So yeah. So what is it about him that kind of knocked him down the list for you if he's scoring a ton of goals?
I mean, I can't speak to why he went where he went, but for me, like it's always hard for me to get like super excited about the guy who it's like he needs a play driver to get on the puck in the offensive zone, and then he'll be the trigger man. You know, my list is built as if, you know, I'm a team starting from scratch. I'm looking to, you know, add new assets to build around. So it's like the centermen who drive play, who get the puck up the ice in the offensive zone are kind of the ones I prioritize. So a player like Keaton Ardaugh for me is more like if I have the centers already, if I have, you know, defensemen already, it's okay. I'm looking to add that goal scoring punch. That's where it's like I would take him a little bit higher than I had him ranked. But it's always hard for me to rank those guys because it's subjective, right? Of like, you know, you have other pieces in place and you're looking to add that sniper at that point in the draft. So, you know, if I had to guess why he went later than there, I would guess that, you know, the teams ahead of, I think Brampton took him, probably just had other needs. Like it's kind of a niche spot you're looking to fill, right? Of, you know, that trigger man who's going to score on the power play, who's going to support the number one centerman and put pucks in the net. Like that, to me, that's one of the last pieces I would add. But, you know, every team's looking at things differently. So that would be my guess of just other teams that different needs higher up. But definitely a reasonable pick for Brampton, where they got him, and someone that should be a really good goal scorer in the OHL.
Right. And a very literally totally unbiased Steelhead fan asked that question. Maybe we add a bonus follow up there in terms of the guy they picked one pick before. Who's Peter Green and what does he do? What's the deal there with him? They took back-to-back first-round picks. I'm assuming one of them was compensatory for losing a first-round pick in the past, but yeah.
Adam
so Peter Green.
They took Adam Valentini last year, and
he is in Chicago.
Yep.
Yeah. So Keaton Ardaugh, or not Keaton Ardaugh, Peter Green. What's the deal with him, and what is Brampton getting?
Yeah. So Peter Green was my third ranked defenseman, but like the top 5-8 defensemen for me were very interchangeable. So I could have easily been convinced to take him in the number one defenseman spot. To me, he was just like really well-rounded, kind of brought like 7.5 or 8 out of 10 across the board in every category, like mobile, shuts plays down, makes kind of smart decisions, can chip in offensively, and really just brings a little bit of everything where it's like, yeah, I can easily project you to be a number 4, number 3 defenseman. The story of the class, we haven't really talked about the defense a ton. The story of the defense class was kind of, there wasn't really anyone where it's like, yeah, I really think you could be a top pairing defenseman. Everyone was kind of these projectable number 3, number 4 types. And he was in that mix where it's like, yeah, he'll probably be a second pair OHL defenseman. Maybe you develop a little bit more into a top pair guy, but just a very projectable, well-rounded, and should be a more than capable second pair defenseman.
I always find it very funny. I just pulled up his elite prospects page. I find it very, very funny that as a defenseman, he had 13 goals and 11 assists this year. That is an offensive finisher's stat line right there. It's
the Domino's Flyers
stat line. Yeah. Well, what does that mean? What do you mean by that?
They just score billions of points.
Right. They score and score and score. Did they lose like any games this year? I feel like their record was outrageously good. But I don't have the GTHL standings in front of me right now.
I'll pull up. But they went 68, 9, and 2 with all tournament play.
That's so dumb.
But like the thing is, the next team below them went 60, 12, and 2. Like the top teams just run away with things.
Yeah, fair enough. What else? Is there any other thoughts on the influx of players getting drafted from we kind of went over that. The Americans coming up from AAA teams. Austin's in here. Noah didn't make your rankings, thus you're a bum. That's a message for you directly. Can you tell everyone why you believe that the OMHA is the best league in Ontario? I don't know if that's a serious question because I don't know anymore. I don't have the lore that you do here, but is there anything to that that you want to go over?
Is that from Austin or is that from
Yes, it
somewhere else?
is. Oh, that's from Austin.
I would say the OMHA is probably my least favorite to watch, just because on both sides of Toronto you have so many teams, and it's usually very top heavy. If you're a top end player from Hamilton or Niagara Falls or St. Catharines, like chances are you've either moved to the GTHL or you've moved to Oakville or Halton. So it's like there's kind of that congregation of talent into those two top end teams, and then they just kind of decimate everybody in league play. So I honestly can't really even watch a lot of their league play games, except for when Oakville and Halton play each other. The story is kind of the same on the east side, where York Simcoe gets a lot of players from the outskirts of Toronto. Sometimes Barrie recruits well. A little bit less top heavy on the east side, but again, there is still a lot of teams usually where it's like the Peterboroughs, the Kingstons, the Quinties, Whitby. There's only so many kids playing hockey, and a lot of them can make the trip into the GTHL. So those programs kind of bleed talent sometimes, and it's not the most exciting. But when you get to the top of the OMHA, it's very good. It's very exciting hockey, and those teams can compete with the GTHL. And I think one thing they're changing for next year is I think they're adding some interplay schedule in league play, where the Oakvilles and the Halton will play against GTHL teams in regular season play, which would be awesome. Get those players playing more competitive hockey on a more regular basis outside the big tournaments.
Cool. Well, I'm glad that you offered a serious answer to what I believe was a pretty unserious question. But
I think he's I don't know if he's mad. I think OMHA kicked out the Buffalo team from the league. So
I see.
Sorry, Austin.
Oh well, he'll get over it, I think. But anyway, you're more than welcome to stick around for the back half of the show if you need to take off. I know you're a family man, so if you but you're more than welcome. I mean, you can pretend like you know what you're talking about with the NHL draft this year. I mean, it's always my favorite time of the year, because if you haven't, yeah, exactly. If you haven't picked up on sort of the mannerisms and the way that we're talking about players here, Jordan and I do see things quite similarly, and I think there's a bit of a weird resonance in the universe between our brains a little bit. So it's always my favorite time of the year when Jordan's done with the OHL stuff and we then move into the NHL stuff, and he does basically one game samples of guys and then comes down with extremely definitive opinions on them that no one can ever knock him off of. So we're getting into that time, but I guess we can give you a little bit of a break.
I mean, if there's OHL guys to talk about, I can stick around, but if it's going to be a lot of Euros and stuff, I can take off. I don't really have anything to do, if I'm being honest.
There's a lot of Ivan Demidov going on in here. There's a lot of that, and I remember you watched.
Stick around and just be Jordan, be the kind of
just be you.
Cool.
Just be you. Trolly.
Oh,
Jordan's a big troll.
Okay, so how have we not crossed this Rubicon? The Senators and the Leafs are probably going to play in the first round of the playoffs this year.
Go Sens, go!
Look at this. I've got Leaf stuff up. I'm wearing a Winnipeg sweater. I'm wearing a Winnipeg. I love this sweater, by the way. It's so comfortable. I love this thing. Shout out Winnipeg Jets. This is good stuff.
Shout out Brad Lambert.
Yeah, shout out. Yeah, all my homies love Brad Lambert. But yeah, I mean, Leafs Sens, it is, I believe I saw something today that it is about a 90-something% probability that those are the teams that are going to be playing in the first round together.
I think the Leafs got one more point.
Right. So it's probably happening.
Yeah.
I am old enough to remember every single Leafs Sens series from the early 2000s.
I am not, because I was born in the year 2000.
if it is like 65% as emotionally charged as it was back then, it's probably going to be one of the best series in the first round of the playoffs.
I await my pain.
It is.
I think it's going to be more. Ottawa's been out of the playoffs for how many years now? I think Sens are going to be
like 7-8 years. Yeah,
it's been a while. So I mean, from what you've seen of the Senators this year, I mean, you probably haven't seen much of the Leafs. Do you think this is a team, when you watch them, that they might go on a little bit of a run here? They might have some juice there that carries them a little further than people might think for a team that's probably just going to be a wild card finisher this year?
I mean, I'll be honest. I don't watch a ton of Senators hockey.
You're too busy with the OHL, I'm assuming.
And you know, a little kid running around these days. But
Yeah, that's true.
you know, you
mini
don't
Malette.
count out those pesky Sens. I think.
Yeah, I mean, a slap shot empty net goal from Ridley Gregg in game 1, and all hell might break loose. I don't know. I mean, I've seen a bit of the Sens this year. I said it at the beginning of the year that like a Leafs Sens first round would be just the best, and I think that now is the time for it to start becoming an option. I mean, the Sens have, you've said this before when we've talked, but the Sens have been in that basement for so long since like getting Brady Tkachuk era started that like they kind of have to start winning like at some point, because Brady Tkachuk is what, 26 now? 20, he's going to be 26 later this year or something like that. So winning is
older than
kind of
me.
on the, yeah, winning is kind of on the table for them, and it's got to start relatively soon. So I mean, I don't know. I'm super pumped, and I honestly, I don't know if I would say that the Leafs are going to win that series. I do not know, and I don't.
They
Already doubting
absolutely
yourself.
they absolutely should win that series, but will they?
Oh, playoffs often come down to vibes, and Ottawa's got some vibes going in.
Yeah,
I mean,
Which team's bigger?
But
which team is bigger, has more hits?
Here's the thing. The Leafs have the makeup of undeserving Stanley Cup finalist team. Like that's what they have the makeup of to me. The team that
And
has,
Anthony Stolars. They
well,
have all
that's-
that
yeah,
and
that's
Anthony
it.
Stolars.
And Joe Wall is fantastic too. Like
Yes.
they have two really good goalies and an unreal core. And even if I don't agree with the philosophy,
Do you need two goalies to win in the playoffs?
no.
They share.
Well,
the
when
crease?
Brady
You just
Tkachuk
need one.
elbows one of them in the head in game 2,
That
then
is true. That is
maybe,
true.
you know, like you might need two.
It's just that they have more of a chance. Like I feel like one of those guys. I would imagine it's Stolars, but I could also see it being Joe Wall just going off and being the guy. And I don't think this team wins the Stanley Cup, but I feel like this team is so cursed. Like not in the sense that they're cursed losing in the first round all the time. That's all BS to me. I don't care about that. That's meaningless. The roster construction is so cursed to me that somehow they're gonna find a way to win.
This is a whole new team except for like 4 guys.
Pretty much. Yeah, there's a
Maybe-
lot of new faces.
There's a lot
there.
of new faces, and I don't love a lot of them.
I think all Leafs fans need just like collective therapy to just like cleanse.
But I feel
out of
like
this.
right now a lot of Leafs fans are super optimistic, man. Like I feel like a lot of them are like, could this be the year because we're bigger, we're physical, we're winning, we're coming first, you know? They think
I feel like what was that meme of like every year Sens fan is like, this is our year. Come November, it's like,
Oh,
oh,
yeah.
crap, we're terrible.
Yeah,
Leafs
yeah.
fans are now, you know, coming there. Every year they forget come
Yeah.
May and April what's coming.
I mean, we'll find out soon enough.
it's gonna be painful no matter what. I think this team is destined to fail at some point. I really do.
Spoken like a true Leaf fan now.
Yeah, but
the-
like they're slow they're slow, man. They're so they can't win like this. They can't win like this. I
Well,
just
they're gonna
don't
try.
believe in it.
All you need to do is win every game 2-1. You know, have Anthony Stolars turn away 35 of 36.
They get outshot
and-
so often. It's
Yes.
crazy. They're the team that has won the most games in the NHL being outshot. I think they've won over 20 games this year being outshot. Maybe even 30. Like I think it's pushing 30 that they've won games where they were outshot.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. And it
Yeah.
shouldn't be like that should not be a stat that you're proud of.
I wonder if that's available. Games where team has been outshot.
Sportsnet has it for
stats.
sure.
Really?
Yeah, because Sportsnet
Um,
quote. I got that stat from Sportsnet, but it was a couple of games ago. So, and they've won
Okay.
more games being outshot since.
Okay. Well, I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I would love to
It's
know
in the
which
20s.
teams have.
It's in the 20s.
All right. Well, good for them. All right, so we can flip gears. I mean, yeah, it's. I mean,
So,
the playoffs
before
always
that,
are a
before
ride,
that,
but
we have to
okay,
give we have
yes.
to give an official prediction. Jordan, we'll start with you because you're the guest. What's the series going to?
Sens in 4.
It'd be very Jordan to say that.
No, it's got to be more painful. It's gotta be like Sens and 7 after like
Sens
triple
and
OT.
7, yeah, triple overtime. Yeah, that's what I
Ridley
was thinking.
Grieg.
Oh man, on a controversial play,
Yeah.
punching someone in the head and kicking the puck in the net or something.
There's a long coach's challenge.
Yeah, long. Yeah, for sure.
It's debated for
Painful.
weeks.
Yeah, weeks, years, son. It's going to be like the Brett Hull skate in the crease thing, but in the first round of the playoffs. That's how it's going to go. All right. I mean, AJ, what are you thinking? What do you if it is Leafs? If it is Leafs, Sens, Leafs in 6. God, I'm such a cynical loser because I'm sitting here thinking like Sens in 7.
Oh, I know
and
you
I think
are.
I'm with Jordan.
I know you are. I know you are.
I go off of juice, and I think the Sens will have some good juice going into the playoffs. I
To
mean,
be fair, something that we do have to mention, I think the Sens have won all the matchups against the Leafs.
have they?
I think they've won
Wow.
every single meeting against the Leafs.
Well, there you go.
But playoffs are different because you have more time to evaluate your opponents, and you're going to have more time to break down and figure out, okay, what does this team do well? And the Senators have not really been a threat.
I
the last
believe
couple of years.
I believe that if Ottawa wins game 1 in Toronto, the series is over. Like, Ottawa's going to come out in game 1.
Jordan's done less talking about the Sens, and
little
it's like
faith you
you've
have.
turned.
Yeah.
You're doing all the work for Jordan. This is
You're
like,
inside your own head.
yeah.
The Sens are like, they have their personality. They know what they are, They wear black, They are like
So what?
that
The Leafs
team.
wear blue and white, and they know what they are now.
No,
They're this
like,
physical, gritty team with
red
the
and
core
black.
4.
They're going to march in to Scotiabank Arena. They know they're going to be the underdogs, and I think they're going to want to rip off the heads of the Toronto Maple Leafs, and how Toronto reacts to that, I think, is going to be very telling very quickly.
30. Okay,
because-
so apparently it's 31 wins while being outshot.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is a lot.
That's coming from
like all
totally
of the-
unbiased
How
Steelhead
many
fan.
wins have they?
How many
Almost
wins have they
50.
had all year?
Almost 50.
Oh my god. So they've won more games while being outshot than they've lost.
Yes.
That is awesome.
Yeah. This
That's
is why
awesome.
I don't believe. This is why I don't believe. But I
Believe.
also believe that this team will win this series. Whether
All
it's
right.
deserved or not, we'll see.
I guess we'll find out soon enough. It starts probably next
The
week?
Leafs are
I
the new
think?
Rangers and the Canucks, and it's so painful.
Oh boy.
It's so
oh boy.
painful. But their core is
Uh-huh.
better. Their core is way better than both those cores, and that's why they're winning. And that's why they've been
You're
able
gonna-
to maintain the success they have.
AJ's going to be a Capitals fan in about a week and a half. He's
I
gonna
hate
get
the
on
Capitals. You know that. Come
He's going
on,
to get
man.
on the Spencer Carberry train.
I've been on the Spencer Carberry train since he was
Yeah.
assistant coach of the Toronto
Yeah.
Maple Leafs. When they had a good power play. When they had a good power play. It was first in the league for a year.
It was.
How could
It
you
was.
not hire that guy?
You can't.
Oh,
I don't know. He has no
painful.
hair. I don't know. Maybe. I don't know. Anyway,
Randy Carlisle
let's
barely had hair, and they still hired
Randy-
his dumbass. Excuse me.
Randy. What's
Randy
Randy
Carlisle lived like 2
is?
minutes from me, by the way. Literally lived 2 minutes away from me.
No, there's a potential.
Shows you how
story,
rich
neighbor.
I am. No, I live in the poorer neighborhood.
Right.
The upper
Well,
middle class neighborhood.
That's a big difference.
Well, he lived in the ultra rich neighborhood.
That makes sense. Yep. Well, okay, let's pivot over to questions for the day. Before we get into questions, I do want to say thank you to the Columbus Blue Jackets. I went to Columbus last week. I went to the analytics conference there. It was a ton of fun. Went to the game where they played the Buffalo Sabres. That game was great. In 2020, the last time they did a conference, I went and I only heard the cannon go off one time. This past week, I heard it go off 3 or 4 times, and it was great every single time. Vibes are immaculate there. I am a stern supporter of the city of Columbus. It is underrated.
Sorry, a chat member reminded me.
What?
I haven't mentioned the Fabian Lascelles goal yet.
Well, we can get to that. I mean, Ivan Demidov is sucking up a lot of air.
It's gotta come now. It's gotta come now.
Okay.
Fabian Lascelles scored his first NHL goal before Ivan Demidov, therefore he's better. That is all I'll say.
Got it.
But I'm so happy. And yes, young Matt. No, I am a true fan of Fabian Lascelles. It's just Will decided to put Jordan Malette in front of me on this show, so I didn't have a chance to open with it. Okay, it's Not
Yeah,
my fault.
the OHL draft is a big deal, and it's a big deal to Jordan, and Jordan
People
put in
care
a lot
about
of work.
scoring.
People care about what I do for about 5 days of the year, and this is,
Exactly.
my chance in the spotlight.
Exactly.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
100%, exactly. But yes, stern supporter of the city of Columbus. I always have a great time when I'm down there. It's a really, really good time. If Dylan Galloway is still here, he was my roommate for that time, and it was awful. That guy, that guy snores.
Does he actually?
Oh, big time. Yeah. I mean, I told him this while we were there because I stayed in a double room with him, and the first night I was there, he woke me up in the middle of the night with the snoring, and when I woke up, he came to me. He basically came right out and was like, "Did I snore last night?" And I was like, "I'm not gonna lie, yes, yeah, you did, man." He's like, "Yeah,
Shameless to bring it up the day after.
Yeah, I know.
He should have given you a
exactly.
warning to bring earplugs.
It's okay. I mean, I got over it. But I mean, the last night we were there, or I guess the second night, he did go to bed earlier than me because I'm a dirty degenerate that stays up way too late. And I had my noise canceling earbuds in, and I still heard him snoring through the TikToks and Instagram reels that I was doom scrolling until 1 a.m. So, but no, he was a great roommate. He drove me all the way there and all the way back. So I can't can't be too critical or anything. It was a good time.
Mr. McGilligan?
He is an insane driver. I mean, Mr. McGilligan was driving around in a car with no muffler, so there's that.
I love Sam.
You could write like a list of 100 things that like Sam would be the only person in the universe to have ever done.
My favorite thing is that he broke his computer with a USB stick, sticking it in his computer, and it broke the whole thing.
The pet pig, like the pet pig is just
pig.
Like,
yeah,
like,
the pig's gone. For the record, the pig is gone. But
the pig is alive though.
The pig is alive. Yeah, that's not gone from the world.
He didn't eat it.
Yeah, he didn't eat the pig. Yeah, he's not yet. Well, yeah. But yeah, that guy, we got to have him on the show at some point too, because he is he's got a life for sure. But no, Dylan is we did about 80 miles an hour the whole way home and there. So we survived. And he will admit that he is an aggressive driver. I think he was swearing at some people here and there and saying some names, and it was a good time. He was a good roommate. We got there alive, and I mean, I got to tag along, and it was a great time. But yeah, the Columbus Blue Jackets, good times. It was a fun day there, and a great game against the Sabres. Speaking of Sam McGilligan, saw his son Noah Ostlund play a game there, and he looked pretty fun.
What about my son, Adam Fantilli?
He's so good.
I know he's so
good. I don't think he got any points. I don't think he had any points that night, but he's pretty darn good there in Columbus, and they got a fun team. So yeah, I mean they came back and beat the Sabres, and yeah, good times.
No, Ostlund's one who was not a favorite of the 1 game sample a few years ago with me. So
right,
maybe
maybe it doesn't work. Maybe it's just not a good strategy.
Maybe he's doomed. We'll see.
Oh, maybe he is doomed. Right?
Live and die by the 1 game samples.
Go
does he have
Jeff
any
Merrick's
points?
heart, then I dare you.
Yeah. Does he have any points yet? He does not. And Ivan Demidov has 2. So
in a month from now, I'll be blowing your mind with new 1 game sample.
Oh, I can't wait. It's my favorite. I mean, you have seen some of these guys before that are coming up in the draft, so it's not like you're completely unfamiliar with a lot of them, or some of them at least. But anyway, all right, let's do this. We've been procrastinating long enough. I don't think we have that many questions here going on. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of Ivan Demidov stuff.
Why don't we just quickly talk about the 2 points he scored, and then we'll get into it, because we do have to.
He's friggin' sick. Like, I don't know.
Gross. Jordan, did you see the points he scored?
The points.
I saw the assist. I didn't see the goal.
Go watch it.
Yeah, you should go watch it,
gross.
and we'll get your reaction live because it's awesome. It's pretty nice. It's a good time. We did get a super chat, so thank you very much for your donation to the show. I'm not exaggerating. Demidov looks like the closest player to Datsuk since Datsuk. Is that ridiculous? No, it's not. He's better than Datsuk. He's gonna be That's super yuck.
Oh, okay. Well,
yeah,
Okay, that goal was nasty.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it was
it's pretty
nasty.
Yeah, like this is the player that I love so much. I mean, I was on the show last week being like, I don't know, maybe he's going to take a little bit of time to get going and get used to the NHL.
He's
and
not going to come
obviously-
over this year.
Hey, I was told that by an extremely reliable source,
that
and
turned out to be wrong.
obviously, St. Petersburg basically allowing him to leave before his contract technically was up is a very charitable thing of them to do for however they put that together, however that worked. But yeah, I mean, I'm thrilled to see him playing in the NHL and thrilled to see him doing pretty well. And I saw earlier, like on the power play, there was a pretty nifty pass between the legs, just a little, little how do you do, one tap,
playing
little
second
pass
unit?
between his legs. I don't know. I haven't been paying that much attention because I'm trying to be a professional here with my friends. But
this
yeah,
you're also professionally or like you're obligated to make sure you're watching Demidov at all times because
I mean, he can't get
he's-
any better. He's literally the best hockey
but
player
dude,
that has
he's-
ever played the game.
He's our cash cow for the next
Yeah, exactly.
for the next 2 years. Him and Lane Hudson are our cash cow. We gotta milk
Exactly.
all of that. Milk it.
David
dry.
Reinbacher's coming,
Yeah,
know.
but
like,
nobody they don't care the same way about Lane Hudson and Ivan Demidov because we've been pumping these
true.
guys. We've been
that's true.
brainwashing our audience to buy into the hype. These guys, and it's
true.
working. It's working.
It's true.
Okay, so we need to peddle it.
I mean, yeah, it's true. And I've said it a million times. They're playing Chicago tonight. I cannot believe that he is not playing with Connor Bedard right now. I just cannot believe that because it just seems like such a
stupid
perfect
thing that they
matchup.
completely whiffed
But
on.
hey, Levshinov's playing. He's all right.
I didn't
all
notice
right.
him at all. Like, no joke. Zero notice of him
He's
when
there.
I was watching.
He's there.
But that's better
He almost
than I
had
expected.
he almost had an assist on the rush on a
Oh, okay.
4-on-1.
Oh,
in
on
the
a
first
4-on-1. Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
it was a 4-on-1 because Caden Gooley pinched a little too hard,
Ooh.
and down he goes. But anyway, all right, let's see what we got here. Who do you think are the most projectable right-hand defenseman that'll be on the board around 20? Well, I would probably throw I believe Blake Fiddler is a righty. I can never remember off the top of my head which direction a player shoots because I don't think about it too much, but probably Blake Fiddler would be a decent option
Let me just
there.
check you and see if
He is. I'm watching.
Okay.
I'm looking right now.
Yes,
But he is that. That is what he is.
a big dude.
Um, he is a big boy. Yeah. So he's probably he's probably what you're looking for there. Yeah. Fiddler. I mean, Radim Merck is probably gone by then. Logan Hensler might be a decent option. I mean, Quinn Beauchene, if you draft him in the 3rd round, Jordan Quinn Beauchene is a superstar. But yeah, I mean, obviously, I think the answer there would probably be Blake Fiddler, and he'll probably be available. But you never know, especially with defensemen who shoot right. He might go 8th overall. Who's the best defensive forward you've scouted? Oh God, defensive. I mean, it's hard to say. I mean, I pass. I'm trying to remember now.
Give us an
Yeah.
answer.
Best defensive forward. I mean, it depends on what you mean by defensive. How about that? Because
Marat Huznadinov.
yeah, like Marat would be up. I mean,
like-
Marat would be up there because just the defense, like he's already a great defensive NHL player with the energy that he's got. But I always thought he was going to be a little more of a two-way guy that did, that scored a little more. But there's still time. He's still a little kid. What else? I mean, Zach Benson was really good defensively as well. Like that's another one. Yeah, Fyodor Svechkov, I suppose, would be another one. I don't know. I don't know, but like
Oscar
this
Fischer
season,
Wolgaard, maybe? No.
I don't know. But it's hard because a lot of defensive forwards are often the ones that are offensive at a young age and they regress and find a job as a defensive one. So
That's true.
it's tricky. Are we ready to finally treat Jet Greaves like a legitimate NHL prospect? If you want, sure. Yeah, whatever. I saw him play in Columbus last week. He was pretty good. But if you want to call him whatever you want to call him, you can call him whatever you want. Did you consider canceling?
Where does he go on the prospect pyramid?
He's actually too old, right? Is he?
Well, then he doesn't count. There's your answer.
That's true. He's too old. He doesn't count. Let me see. Yeah, he's too old. As of this season, he's too old. Did you consider canceling the stream to watch Demidov? No. No, I did not. What just happened?
I would have forgiven you.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the OHL draft is a bigger deal.
It is most certainly not.
The only person in the world who thinks that.
Yeah, I know. I mean, I can't lie. It is super exciting. I'm super happy for him. I mean, I did want to. The original idea was to do a live stream for the OHL draft, but that didn't come together because I had to get back from Columbus in time, and I did not. No matter how fast Dylan drove.
What day was that we would have been?
It was Friday.
There's no way I
was
would have been
Friday.
able to pull that off.
Well, no, I would have just run it myself. It would have been fine. But anyway, that was the improv. Maybe for the WHL we'll do that. Maybe even the QMJHL. I don't know. Maybe we'll figure something out.
You could. It's just
it would be
if
fun.
it's on a Friday, it's
yeah. You're working the night shift.
yeah.
The queue isn't until like July or something. It's silly.
Is it really? Oh my goodness. But I mean, I honestly thought Demidov was going to play a little earlier than this, and I mean, it just so happens that he's playing tonight. But no, there's no way I'm canceling on my best friend Jordan. The best
Hey,
playmaker.
what about me? What the hell, man?
He said what he said. We're moving on.
I said what I said. We're a work relationship.
Oh,
We're,
okay. I'll just end the stream then. Thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
You can have Jordan run the stream now with your new best friend.
Exactly.
Yeah, well, he does my job.
I think like things would combust if we were talking too much together. We're just too much of the same.
Yeah, I think it would be brutal.
The same energy.
It would get out of control. Best playmakers that should go mid, first, and later. I mean, there's a lot of them. Let me look at the old list here. I mean, I think someone's going to be taking a swing on Cole Reshny at some point. I think he's going to be available way later than he probably should go. Milton Yastreen is a pretty good one. I think LJ Mooney still has some good juice in his future. That would be a really fun mid-round swing on a guy who can make plays. Who else is on here? Like a Cole Temple is pretty good too. Bruno Osmanis. If you want to go with a Latvian, there's a few good ones. I think there's a lot of good pass first guys that could get something going. It's malpractice for the Habs to not pair Demidov with Caulfield. I think we'll get there. We'll get there one day. He's playing with Newhook and Armia, I think, tonight,
yes,
which is a bit of a weird combination, but it worked.
Doesn't matter. It's
worked.
aligned with 2 points, and Cole Caulfield
he's
has
got
a goal on his own. So
yeah, that's true. It's working.
fine.
He's got points. Cullen Potter is fast. What about his hockey IQ? His line mates aren't so good. So, I mean, yeah, I think that is a big thing with Potter is that he is just a very different player to the players that he plays with in terms of speed and pace of play and all that stuff. But I mean, I do think that Potter is a bit rough around the edges with how he sees the game. He's a very, very shot focused guy a lot of the time in situations where I don't think he should be shooting the puck. Like he'll be entering the offensive zone and just ripping pucks on net from the boards or something. But a lot of the time that's because there's just too much, there's like pressure and there's nobody there to help him out. And so may as well just get the puck on net or something. And, you know, whatever, you know, I mean, it's something to work on. But again, the thing I always fall back on with Potter is that he's an 07 playing center in the NCAA on a team that was, I believe, nationally seeded as good enough to be on the national rankings. So that's pretty impressive to me. I do have my last game of him to do. On that note, we got report season coming up. We're going to start doing those probably this week. I've got a couple of guys already ready to go. So look forward to those coming out. They're going to come out pretty quick and they're going to be a little bit of a different format than they were before. But yeah, Potter will not be far behind after the first batch of a few players. Okay, Carter Bear versus Brady Martin. Oh, Brady Martin. Jordan, Brady Martin, you watched him. You've been seeing him here and there. I mean, I think there's a bit more speed and pace and skill in Bear's game, but Martin is like a sponge player. Like you could have 3 dudes all over him in, you know, down low, along the boards, whatever. He'll try to find a way to make a play. You know, he keeps his game relatively simple, but very effective. Do you have any thoughts on Brady Martin going into draft season this year? Or is it you want to punt and go watch him and come back later?
I mean, like I can talk about what he was like 2 years ago, and if it aligns with what he's like now, you can, you know, chip in.
Go for it.
Just someone who like was always just like that bulldog trying to like, go through guys, attack the net, using his hands to beat guys towards the inside. Playmaking was, sometimes there, sometimes not great, but really just like that, you know, always trying to bulldoze his way to the net and attack, with kind of that, go through guys and with some high end handling. It was kind of a question mark if the feet and the pace were there to be like a high end OHLer that would be a high draft pick, but it
Right.
seems like he's getting there. The feet are coming, and he's finding success in the OHL. But
Yeah.
will it take him far enough? We'll see. I guess. I think that's the big question mark, is the pace.
Yeah, I think I've kind of resigned myself to the fact that he'll probably get drafted before I would take him. I think he's just that type of player that the NHL teams are going to really want. And I mean, I don't know. I think a bottom 6 center who isn't super exciting but can play, I guess, is possible there. And in this year's draft, there's a lot of those. Honestly, there's quite a few guys where I go, I guess they could play. You know, a coach could play them and get some minutes out of them. Sure.
So would you say that Jordan's assessment aligns with
Yeah.
your own?
Yeah, I'd say so. I mean, I think the shortcomings are still kind of there, like the handling and the playmaking and all that stuff. It's still a bit of a work in progress, but I mean, I think the way he times his game is really good in terms of moving the puck and making plays in the offensive zone. Like his sense of like his feel for the game and reading pressure and avoiding it, and if he doesn't avoid it, working out of it, I think is good. And that works, that you need that in the NHL. You can't just always be fast and skilled all the time. Am I insane for thinking Caleb Desnoyers might top out as an AHL scorer? Also, thoughts on the top 3 shots in the draft, projectable scoring habits aside. Okay, well, I mean, I wouldn't project anyone as like, not. I don't know. I mean, I can't say that Desnoyers won't make the NHL and be a player there. My whole thing with him is that I would probably have him as a decent third line center in the NHL, a good one, I guess. Do I think that top 10 is where I would take him? No, I've been very, very clear on that for a long time. But he's in my top 20. Like I like him. I imagine if he's at the U18s, he'll be huge there. He's scoring a ton in the playoffs this year, but I mean, I don't. He could score 100 points in the playoffs, and I still would probably feel the same way because, as what Jordan said earlier, right? You watch these guys all year, you get a good read on them, and whatever happens, it sometimes a handful of games they just happen a certain way, and yeah, I mean, I would also expect a team as good as Moncton to just run over the first couple of rounds of the QMJHL playoffs this year. So, doesn't entirely surprise me, but I believe he is leading the queue in playoff scoring right now. But I mean, I don't think you're crazy. But I also think that his style of play and the way he times his game again, similar to Brady Martin and the sort of physical tools he has, I think lend him to being an NHL player of some kind at some point. I mean, if he goes top 10, someone's going to put him in the NHL wherever he goes. Also, thoughts on the top. Okay, so the top 3 shots in the draft, projectable scoring habits aside, I'd probably put Cameron Schmidt in there.
Is that number 1?
Cameron Schmidt.
Schmidt.
That guy.
Oh, yeah. You got thoughts on Cameron Schmidt?
Go for it.
Yeah.
Say
no,
it.
it was just like so the Canada Winter Games happens every 4 years,
right?
And he was on Team BC in the 2007 year, and that guy was just always going 100 miles an hour,
yes,
up and down the ice and just ripping. And he was probably my favorite player to watch. I guess Gavin McKenna was there, but Gavin McKenna playing against Nunavut and PEI wasn't all that exciting.
That's one of my favorite box scores of all time. Gavin McKenna playing Team Nunavut at the Canada Winter Games.
But yeah, Cam Schmidt.
What happened in that game?
I don't know. It was like 20-0 or something. It actually wasn't. And yeah. But yeah, Cam Schmidt just was flying and was just easily like, yep, I adore you.
yeah. I'm gonna look it up. Canada Winter Games. That would have been what year? 2023. 23. Let's see. Canada Winter Games 2023.
We're gonna hear a boy when Will actually finds.
He had 31 points in 7 games.
Right. So Yukon played Nunavut 11-6. So they played.
Oh.
It was 11-6 in 2023.
Hmm.
So wow, Nunavut put 5 goals in the third period. So good for them. But Gavin McKenna came away with 9 points, 6 goals and 3
That's
assists
ridiculous.
in an 11-6 win over Team Nunavut, representing Team Yukon. Shout out Yukon territory, one of my favorite places in the world. Okay.
Nunavut's jerseys were awesome.
Oh, were they?
Yeah.
Well, that's fun. I'll Google them later. All right.
I'll pick up one,
Oh yeah.
'cause that's what Will does.
Right. Yeah, I'll buy one because I have so much money to spend. Okay.
you
Yeah.
should
Other
pay me
than that,
better, actually. All the jersey
exactly. Yeah,
money.
with all the jersey money. All right. So other players who shoot the puck good. I mean, Justin Carbonneau can really shoot the puck pretty good. Maybe Daniil Prokhorov. He's scored a lot of goals this year and he's got a hell of a shot. Those might be the ones that I would throw out there,
So
perhaps.
why wouldn't you throw a guy like Michael Misa in there just because?
Well,
to
his
enlighten
scoring,
people?
he's a really good goal scorer, but it's not through his shot. Like, I mean, he shoots the puck very well, but his appeal is that he can score 10 goals from in front, 10 goals from mid-range, 10 goals on a wraparound, 10 goals on rebounds. You know, like he can 10 goals on tips and like all these things that sort of add up to a very, very good goal scorer. It's not necessarily just he's a grip it and rip it type guy. And I think that's also why I value him a lot, is because if that's all he was, you know, like I have a Cameron Schmidt quite a bit lower, obviously. Just I think there's a lot of holes in his game, but still an unbelievable shooter. And that's kind of his hallmark that has landed him kind of where he is.
Okay.
Oh my goodness. Any thoughts on Tim Washi signed with the Ducks today? Yeah. Also, yeah, Western Michigan, NCAA champions. I watched that game and it was a hoot, a ton of fun.
You two
are
the only two people who use that word, by the way.
Right. That makes sense.
We're brains connected.
Like I said, switched at birth, even though I'm older. But yeah, what was I saying? Oh yeah, Tim Washi. Yeah, so Western Michigan, first ever championship at anything in like 60 years or something like that, and they won in men's ice hockey, which is pretty wild. They've really turned around that program in the last few years. I mean, I noticed him quite a bit in that game, but it's always important to remember that he is entering his mid-20s. And he hasn't really been much of a factor until this season with Western Michigan. So he was very good in that championship game, but I always kind of hold my tongue a little bit on NCAA free agents. A lot of them are, you know, maybe NHL guys, but I mean, he's got the size to maybe chip in on a fourth line, and the Ducks love their big boys. Should Zane Parekh be playing with the Flames? I mean, I think he maybe could get a game. I think that there are still things where he could really get burned at the NHL level with the speed of that game and the pace of play there. But I mean, the skill level and the skating ability and the offensive instincts are definitely, I would say, good enough to sort of, you know, if they put him out on a sheltered power play or something, then I could absolutely see it. But if the Flames aren't out of the playoff hunt, right? It's close.
They are not.
They're hanging on.
They're hanging on, right?
They're basically like they're close. They're on the chopping block, and
every game matters, right?
They're going to get diced.
Yeah, every game matters. Yeah, so we'll see what happens. Side note: Montreal Chicago is going into a shootout. So keep your eyes peeled.
Do we stop the stream and just
if Montreal lose? Oh.
Cole Caulfield first, but keep your eyes peeled for Ivan Demidov.
Oh, they're putting him out. They got it.
I guarantee you, they're putting him out.
He's going
to.
It's going to be Caulfield, Suzuki, Demidov. That's how they're going to run this.
My mind went elsewhere of that if Montreal loses, they could still miss the playoffs.
That's true.
That is true.
That's true.
That is true. It's possible.
And it'll be all Ivan Demidov's fault because he didn't score 3 points.
Yeah, exactly. It's all his fault. That's what you get when you play him, you know? But for Zane Parekh, I think obviously if you're a team that you gotta win from here on out, you probably don't. Nice save, Samuel Montembeault. You probably don't want to risk like losing a game. And I mean, I like Zane Parekh a lot. I think he's a really, 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 really good offensive defenseman. But I could see why an NHL team might want him to be there more for the experience and the time with an NHL team and training with them and practicing with them and all that stuff. And then next season, you'll see where he goes. Ryan Leonard not looking great so far. Well, more goals than assist club gets another member.
Hey,
but
come on, you remember the term?
no,
The
I mean,
Jonathan
I don't
Cheechoo
know.
Club.
I was pretty. Oh, right, the Cheechoo Club.
Ottawa
I was
Senator.
pretty. Yeah, true.
Yes. Belleville
Legend.
Senator too, I think.
I mean, I was pretty clear a lot about Ryan Leonard being like a middle six winger who plays physical enough in the NHL. Like, I mean, I did not think that his immediate NHL impact was going to be particularly huge, because also a lot of people's aren't. Like, it is very difficult to produce in the NHL. I have seen a little bit of Ryan Leonard in the NHL this year, and he's been, again, like, chipping in, but I don't think he's much of a difference maker right now. And again, like the NCAA, I don't care how good you are, it is a huge jump to the NHL. It is a huge jump, and it can take time to adjust. So I wouldn't take too much away from it. Why are right-handed defensemen so hard to come by? Are righties just not as good at defending? Are significantly more people left-handed when it comes to hockey? So
More people are
I am left-handed. I am left-handed,
too.
and I shoot right. And I think that there's a correlation there. I think oftentimes you shoot the opposite side of your dominant hand. Like, Jordan, are you a righty?
I think just like 65 or 70% of people shoot left.
I shoot left.
Yeah.
I'm right-handed.
But I shoot
normally.
right. I'm right like everything.
Oh, so you're a righty. Okay.
Yeah.
My
which
brother
I think
is a
I just-
righty as well. So it's all dependent.
So you got 4 people that we just talked about that are all right-handed, and we're not in the NHL. So what does that tell
Aren't
you?
you left-handed? Didn't you say you're left-handed?
But I mean shooting right-handed. But I'm left-handed. Yes,
No,
I am.
well, I
indeed
shoot left. No, I shoot left.
Oh, so you're a lefty that shoots left, or are you?
I'm a righty that shoots left.
Oh, you're a right-handed human being. Okay.
Yeah, I think that's
Got it.
normal. That's like the
Yeah.
norm.
Yeah, I think that's pretty standard. So I think it's just a matter of selection. Us lefties are
I'm actually
we-
kind
we
of
did- they're-
ambidextrous though. It's kind of weird. Like I'm
they're
I
trying
do,
to get rid of us.
I do half the I honestly do half the things with my left hand and half things with my right hand. So,
Right.
Oddly enough.
All right.
Like
how do you
I write with my right hand,
Oh.
but there's some other things I do with my left. Like play hockey.
Come on, man.
I didn't say anything.
Okay.
I didn't say anything. What are you talking about?
Okay. Anyway, let's move on. How do you rate the Kings' chances versus Edmonton this year, regardless of home ice? I mean, I will always give the Kings a fighting chance because I love the LA Kings. They play tight, hard, defensive hockey, and they've been driving really good results this season. Quinton Byfield was good in the playoffs last year, and I think that he should be just, again, a really good performer for them. Edmonton losing Matthias Ekholm is a huge shot in the leg.
Honestly,
That-
I think
that
the
really
Kings win.
sucks.
I think the Kings win. As crazy as that might be, I think the Kings win.
It would be pretty wild. It would be pretty wild.
And
So yeah, I don't
Will,
know.
how do you feel about your pick now? Your Stanley
My
Cup winning pick.
Hey, I said they needed to go get John Gibson first, and they didn't.
Yeah, and
so
you
now
also
it's-
neglected the fact that at the time John Klingberg was playing when you made that pick.
right, but he wasn't gonna play forever. Yeah.
Yeah,
no.
but who else
They
were they
got-
gonna replace him with?
Play the long
got-
game.
They got Quinn Hudson now. That makes a difference.
He's good. He might be an actual player. Now,
Okay.
there's a hockey player I like.
Okay.
But I don't know. We'll see. But yeah, not feeling so hot about the. Ooh boy, that is a tough goal to lose the game on, or a tough shot to lose the game on there. Suzuki putting it off the pad and then the crossbar. Yikes.
so the Habs won. So they're
Yeah, no, there's the Blackhawks won.
the Blackhawks won.
Yeah.
Oh no.
Yep, the Blackhawks won. Demidov didn't get a chance to shoot.
Well, that's just dumb.
sad.
That's just dumb.
Oh well. But yes,
Fire
I
St.
do.
Louis
I
for
mean,
that.
I will root for the LA Kings. Also, just selfishly, I'm a friend of Rob Volman, who is one of their analytics guys, and he literally wrote the book on early age analytics, which is very good. A little outdated now, but it was very good. Stat Shot, a good book, and him being part of a team that wins would be very nice.
Good for the brand. Good for the brand.
Good for the brand. Good for the brand. Yeah. AJ loves the Senators. You're a closeted Senator
Nope,
fan who
nope,
pretends to be a
nope,
Leaf fan.
nope,
Is that
nope,
true?
Sens go.
nope, nope,
Yeah,
nope,
go Sens go.
No Sens, no. No Sens,
Oh,
no.
boy. Did Don Waddell offer you a job yet? Nope. The phone is not on silent and it has not rung. So take that for what you will.
Don Waddell doesn't even know who he is, unfortunately.
Yeah, no, he doesn't. I don't think. Maybe he does. I don't know.
It's
I don't-
possible.
It's possible.
Possible. You have a lot of friends in Carolina.
Well, some.
You got a lot. No, you got a lot. You got a lot. It's okay. We can out you. We're actually just paid by the Hurricanes to pump up their prospects, but they've been getting really mad about my Nikishin takes.
They've been bankrolling us for years. Yeah, exactly. Surprise, surprise. Fake news. I mean, that stat about the Leafs 31-12-2 being outshot and 18-12-1 out shooting a team is hilarious.
Well,
that's
I told
crazy.
you that's why I think they're gonna go to the Stanley Cup final and get their ass kicked.
They're gonna find a way. Yeah.
Me being
Mathis,
cynical now.
Yes. There's a question about Mathis Preston for next year's draft. I love him.
Sick
honestly.
name, so I'm already behind him.
He's already on the very, very high spot on my list for next year.
Is it 1?
Are you going to consider? What?
Is it 1? It better be 1.
It is not 1. No, it is not. I don't have anybody at 1. I'm not tethered to anybody.
Release your 2026 draft list.
Yeah,
right now,
that Gavin McKenna goal the other
it.
night was pretty sweet. That was pretty cool.
And stand by it.
Yeah, stand by it.
The
year and a half
year,
in advance.
The whole year.
Yeah, 15 months in advance.
Ethan Belcher has 1.
Yeah, that's the one. Now we're talking.
Hey, we saw him in person, Will and I, and he did nothing.
It's true. He didn't do bad. He didn't do much, but he was there. And he's bigger than me. He's bigger than me, so I'm not going to pick a fight.
Will was like, holy crap, this guy is so big.
He is huge.
That was all Will said. He's like,
what?
Oh my God.
Jordan, what's your scouting report on Ethan Belchetz? Because I know you love him. Big?
Well, I mean, he's like, to me, it's like he's someone that is put in the perfect position in Windsor that he was put in. Like, he's going to be a great guy that complements whoever he plays with and has those great hands in tight to score and can kind of make plays in the offensive zone when plays already been kind of established in the offensive zone. So you put him with a guy like Jack Nesbitt who drives play up ice, gets the puck to Ethan Belchez, and then Ethan can kind of work around the net and in the offensive zone. It kind of is that complementary scorer, power forward, hands in tight sort of player who can, around the net can body his way to the crease and score. So, I expect NHL teams to love that profile, right?
Sure.
So, yeah, he's Windsor, that's what they're trying to build, right? The biggest team on ice, and he fit exactly what they're looking for.
It's true. Who do you like more, Schmidt or Potter? Potter, definitely. Definitely a more active off-puck player. Also a very, very good shooter in his own right. Really good puck mover, though. Great puck rusher with, I don't think, as many question marks and shot selection issues, at least not in the same way.
Where do you
Nathan
have
Bean,
them ranked? Like, I think Potter, you have at
Potter
6 or
is
7, right?
6 or 7.
And then
Yeah,
Schmidt's
6.
like in your top 20?
Schmidt's at 23
Okay.
now. Yeah.
So quite a
Schmidt
big
is either
gap.
going to be an excellent complementary scorer that gets drafted way too late, or he might not make the NHL. I don't think there's any in between because he's not going to regress into a third liner. I don't think. Maybe he will. He's pretty rambunctious and a bit of a jerk sometimes, but I think the right team is going to need to see that and manifest that in reality. Nathan Bean thoughts. Smart guy. I've never thought he was like, I don't know. Moves the puck okay, decent pace in his game. He just doesn't. He strikes me as a really good junior scorer right now. What was the best cartoon when you were younger? Oh boy.
Ooh.
I mean, The Simpsons. The Simpsons was the legendary game changer when I was a kid. I was also big into the X-Men cartoon in the 90s. That was another one.
Mhm.
The Men in Black cartoon, very underrated, with one of the best theme songs out there. I don't know. What about Jordan? You're younger than me. You probably have a different opinion.
I mean, me was Disney's Recess. That was.
Oh
Yes.
yeah, that's a
Yes.
good one. Yeah,
We watched.
yeah.
It's actually
That
funny.
was
Will and
to
I,
me. That was like, yeah.
Will and I we watched some Disney's Recess together one night just for fun because
Oh, it's so fun. It was hilarious.
me no. Do you remember that
You know,
episode?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, I remember.
Where the
Bonk,
ball? Where the ball? Where the ball?
Yeah,
Where
yeah.
the ball?
Me
Me
no
no.
Bonky
The peanut butter
episode.
kid.
Yep, the peanut butter
Do you
kid. Yeah.
remember? You remember Mikey and Bonky? Like
Yes,
his
the
obsession?
Bonky episode still cracks me up.
That's what we called Oliver Bonk last year.
That's true, Bonky.
Just because of that.
Yep,
Bonky.
Bonky. Yeah, I
me,
mean,
You
yeah.
go ahead. You finish.
no, you go ahead. You were gonna give yours. You were gonna give yours.
I feel like for me personally, it's not gonna hit as hard for people. But I loved Johnny Test as a kid because it was so
that is a good one.
ADHD, and I am ADHD, and
That is
I'm a
good
kid of. I was born in the year 2000, so for me, like that.
Disgusting.
I know.
Yeah.
Dylan Griffin and I, 2000s babies. Dylan's younger than me, actually. I'm November 2000.
Gross.
He's December 2000.
Gross. I hate that.
So yeah, Johnny Test was the show I loved. I loved Johnny Test and Jimmy Two Shoes, and my dad actually worked on with Breakthrough. I want to say.
Right on. Also, yeah. Anyway, but we can move
He
off
also
of
worked on
cartoons.
Kenny versus Spenny.
That's a throwback.
there's a
my
show.
dad has a credit
I
on
would
Kenny
have
versus
never
Spenny.
remembered that show, dude. Oh my god.
Yeah.
For anyone who's not aware, Kenny versus Spenny is an iconic Canadian program of two idiots who live together, one a neurotic nightmare and the other a psychotic dickhead, living together
Who
under the
smells
same roof.
awful.
Who smells terrible. Owns a really nice bar in Toronto now, though. It's a nice place. I've been there a few times. But
Wow.
they would do little games together and then humiliate whoever lost. And it is go and watch Who Can Blow the Biggest Fart on YouTube. It's one of the best.
Yeah, it's there. Kenny's uploading videos
Yep.
to his YouTube
Who
right
could stay
now.
tied to a goat for the longest?
Yeah.
Yeah, that one just
Yep.
got uploaded. That one just got
Yep.
uploaded again today because his channel got taken down because he put it
Of course it did.
because he fucking he violated the code of conduct. On
Of course he
YouTube
did.
Because he's
That's
Kenny
what he was
Hodds.
born to do.
Yeah.
He was born to violate
Yeah.
the code of conduct.
Oh, Sam's here. Let's go.
Sam's here.
Sam
Get out of here, Sammy.
Smells like
which-
Jordan. That's what he said.
He's one to
What does
talk.
that mean?
Yeah, I don't know what that means.
I don't know either.
Which Canadian city, not including the one you live in, is best in Canada? For me, I would say Montreal. I love Montreal to death. I
would
love
have
it there.
I would have to second that.
Yeah, definitely Montreal or Halifax. Halifax is a
Yeah,
strong
Halifax is cool.
two. Halifax is a strong two. I don't know if we get any disagreement on that on the Montreal thing.
No.
Yeah. On the flip side, which is one that's not so good, not including the city you live in.
I'm never
ooh.
putting Toronto in the gutter.
Well, you live there, so you can't answer that.
It's awesome.
Least
Everybody hates on
favorite?
Ottawa.
I don't dislike Ottawa that much. I think Ottawa's kind of cool. You just have to be in the right spots.
I've never
I
been,
think.
but I imagine Thunder Bay is not.
Yeah, it's all right.
That's
Thunder
punchable.
Bay. Thunder Bay is. I've been, and I mean, it's very beautiful. The region is very beautiful out there. Like, it's very pretty. Like, I don't know if I could say the same thing about like Windsor. You know,
Now you're
I've
just
been to
gonna hurt
Windsor a
Tony.
few times. Well, yeah, but I don't care.
I think Tony
Um,
knows.
Yeah, Tony must know. You know, he's a Windsor homeowner. Like, he knows.
I know. Sam does not like Sault Ste. Marie. That's for sure.
Well, yeah, Sioux. I've never been to the Sioux, so I can't talk. And I feel like the Sioux is very passionate about their city. Yeah, I don't know. Is it you, Jordan, who doesn't like if anyone sasses Kingston? Was that the one, or is that someone
Kingston's
else?
nice, actually. I like Kingston.
Oh no, it was just Joel hates Kingston, and that's where
Right.
Why?
my wife's parents are from. I think he had like one bad experience there, and
Yeah,
My
getting into an
grandparents live in
altercation or
Kingston.
something.
love
Yeah, Kingston's nice.
Kingston's all right. It's
Yeah,
pretty nice.
Kingston's great. It's a
which-
little too liberal for me. No, I'm kidding.
Too lived up. Which pop is the best? Oh my god, this is fighting words. I
Pepsi.
think.
Is this all Sam or is this
No, this
Oh,
is
Sam.
our Steelheads fan who
I like
picks our
Pepsi
brain.
better. As crazy as that sounds, I'm a Pepsi guy.
I don't disagree. Which pop is best? Zevia. I'm a big Zevia guy.
Yeah,
There.
over Pepsi?
That's your off.
Over Pepsi
That's
and
your
Coke?
off. Yes. Yeah. Zevia. You can
Hon-
drink as many as you want, and almost every flavor is really good.
Jordan.
So
We're a bubbly house, not a pop house.
To be honest, I
All right.
like iced tea the best. Like that is my canned drink of choice is iced tea.
iced tea.
I'm actually really
Got it.
enjoying the new brand, like Fuse, I think it's called. But I like
Never
theirs
heard of
too.
it.
No, they've replaced Nestea. They've replaced Nestea now. Like the
Got it.
Coca-Cola doesn't do Nestea anymore. I think Nestle's now doing it, but it's not at the same scale anymore. But I really like the new one.
Which which classic rock song is your favorite? Oh my god.
We're getting all asked all these questions.
Why not? It's fun. We're now not talking about hockey. We're not talking about Ivan Demidov, which people probably want. I don't know. I mean, Limelight by Rush starts out pretty good. That's a good one, but I don't know. We can skip this one because classic rock for you guys is probably like 1992. You're talking
I'm
like
too young.
Nirvana.
Can't say I got anything.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
can't say I
no.
have anything either.
All right.
I'm too young. It's all old, man.
Billy Sullivan's in here. What's going on, Billy? Move Lakovic, Zonin, Bruštevec, and Vince Eggy up. I mean, three of those guys are really high on my list already. So cool it, Billy. I mean that respectfully. Do the Oilers have an?
Up? He's cool.
Yeah, I mean he's already at 8 for me. So
He'd
yeah,
be higher, man. You know,
he's
we
cool.
have
I know.
we have a really cool story about him. That I don't know
Whatever.
if you
That's for
wanna-
the future.
Yeah.
Do the Oilers have an NHL player? And Maxim Beryazkin seems to be a lot of hype from him. But I mean, I remember watching Beryazkin when he was 17 and thinking he's a big, slow guy who can again be a sponge. I don't know if he's an NHL player. I mean, people are probably hyping him because he has a lot of points this year with Yaroslavl, but I don't know. I mean, put him in the AHL if he goes, if he sees, but I know a lot of Russians don't want to go to the AHL. I'm not convinced he's like a super high-end NHL player, honestly. But I've been wrong before, and he is a big boy, so you never know.
Big boy, big boy.
All right, this is a good question, and the show on directed directly at AJ. Is Oliver Ekman-Larsson better than Morgan Riley now?
No.
Because Morgan Riley is like a minus $1 billion this year, and that's
I don't care. OEL
that is
still
the definition.
Worse.
Is he on the Masters leaderboard? Is it Mike Commodore that puts that out?
Oh
Masters?
yeah.
Is Morgan Riley on there?
Yeah. I don't watch a lot of golf, but that was crazy on the
He
weekend.
would have beaten Rory McIlroy's score this year.
Yeah, Morgan Riley is a minus 11 this year.
Oh, then he doesn't. He doesn't beat.
So he doesn't. Yeah, he
doesn't
falls
beat
just
it.
short of Rory McIlroy.
That's actually not. That's not as bad as I expected it to be.
Oh, no.
Honestly.
The leader of the Masters is Mason Lowry.
Oh, yikes.
Yeah.
What's he at?
You know what's amazing?
Minus 43.
Oh my god.
Wait, what?
Oh my god. Minus 43.
I don't mean to make Simon Wang look
I'm
bad, but he said
trusting
he
Mike
watches-
Commodore's graphic. Maybe that's incorrect, but yeah, it's
wild.
correct.
I don't mean to throw
Wow.
Simon Wang under the bus, but he says that he watches Mason Lowry to get his defensive stuff going.
Rasmus Anderson's not on the list. Sorry, Morgan Riley's not on the list.
Let's
There you
go.
go.
Let's
Yep.
go.
Morgan Riley Redemption Tour. All right. Oh, David Sod is here. What's going on, David? It's been a while since we've spoken. How long until Cade Weber makes his debut? Probably tomorrow, because he's very big, and that means he's going to play in the NHL. Well, I guess on that note, we can call it for the night. Jordan, again, thank you very much for hopping on. I hope we didn't scare you away.
Thanks for
too
having
much.
me.
Yeah, it's
We'll
always
have
a
you again
pleasure.
next year for your five
Next
your
year,
5 minutes
yeah.
of fame again.
Yeah, exactly.
I'll come back in a couple weeks after I've watched more of the draft
Yeah.
eligibles or
I mean,
something.
If you want to,
One-
yeah, we can do that.
One game sample, Jordan, is a good time, so we'll bring you
Do you
back
want-
for
would
that.
I'll
you be
reveal.
down?
I'll,
Would you be
I'll
down?
reveal my list on the show.
Yeah.
Would
Yeah.
you actually be down to do that? Because we'd have a lot of fun.
Yes.
I mean,
Yeah. It's not
make
up
a fool
to
of
him.
myself.
We ask, and he shows up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
That's how this works.
He's contractually obligated through puck preps. Actually, that's part of his
yeah,
contract. There,
This is the
he's
partnership.
got to make appearances on this show, and he's
exactly.
been pushing this off all season, and he's got to make up his 2 required appearances now.
Joel's next. All right. Well, thanks again for joining us. Who's winning the cup first? Leafs, Sens, or Habs? The
Leafs.
Sens.
It's not close. It's gonna happen.
It's going to be the Sens. They're going to
Nope,
go on
it's
a
gonna
run
be
and they're
the
going to
Leafs.
win. Brady
Jordan,
Tkachuk,
what's
8
your
goals.
answer?
Goals. Yeah, go Sens, go, I guess. Anyway, thanks for joining us. We'll be back
Groupthink
Thursday
garbage.
afternoon. AJ, quiet. We'll be back
No.
Thursday afternoon. We'll see you then. And until then, toodaloo.
Go Leafs, go, and not Sens.